Soviet literature enters a long, dark night from which it will never emerge. Henceforth, writers will write for a readership of one, Stalin. The pressure mounts, and the poet Vladimir Mayakovsky takes his own life. The poet Sergei Yesenin also commits suicide. His works are banned. The novelist Bulgakov is barred by Stalin from fleeing Russia, and his books never see print. Stalin sets out to make Soviet literature as effective a mind control instrument as the cinema. But he needs a sacred cow, someone to front for him. Maxim Gorky would do nicely. At the turn of the century, his novels and plays brought him acclaim. But Gorky is sulking in Italy in self-imposed exile. Stalin settles on Gorky, but how to lure him back? Stalin makes him an offer he cannot refuse: fame and power. Gorky arrives and is greeted like the prodigal son. The celebrated author is appointed by order of Stalin to head up the newly formed Union of Soviet Writers. Gorky is to preside over their first Congress. Gorky advises his nervous audience, the enemy who does not give up is exterminated. Duped by Stalin and Henryk Yagoda, head of the secret police, Gorky unknowingly perpetrates a fraud on his fellow authors. He organizes an expedition of writers to visit the White Sea-Baltic Canal, being built on the backs of thousands of prisoners, all furnished by Stalin's secret police. It is a triumph of socialism, Gorky explains. Labor sets the prisoner free. The writers are to glorify it. Writer Yevgeny Gavrilovich was there.
I remember that they got us together, a whole train full of writers, and off we went to the White Sea-Baltic Canal, named after Stalin. The canal was being built by prisoners, dressed up specially for our benefit. Looking back, I realized this performance had all been staged. Our role as writers was to conceal from the world the existence of the repressive machine that had a stranglehold on the country.
All contact between the prisoners and the writers is carefully orchestrated. The prisoners have been advised that the slightest flaw in their performance will be swiftly followed by their execution.
When I recollect all that was really happening then, I'm amazed at my naivety. Were we really such blind idiots? Just think about the tremendous impact this kind of mass propaganda had on the destiny of humanity and the state. This was proven true in my century.
After the sightseeing, folk dances. The secret police deception is so impressive that the zealous and gullible writers who arrive prepared to accept whatever they are shown believe the pathetic charade and collaborate on a book of high praise, exalting the wisdom of Stalin, the excellence of the secret police, and the justice and decency of the Soviet penal system. Why did some of the greatest names in Soviet literature suddenly leap into Stalin's arms? For one thing, fear. They had just witnessed the fate that would otherwise be theirs. Writer Tamara Ivanova.
The times were so bad then that now it's almost impossible to understand how we survived all of that. I remember that in the house opposite the Tretiakov Picture Gallery, where we lived, we had no garbage chutes then. In the elevators and entrances, there were notices asking the residents not to flash burnt papers down the toilet because everyone was burning their archives.
Using Maxim Gorky as bait, Stalin now beams his mind control apparat westward. He suggests to the gullible Gorky that he invites some of the West's most prestigious writers to come and see for themselves this brave new world of socialism. George Bernard Shaw arrives. Romain Rolland, H.G. Wells, Henri Barbusse, André Gide, all receive a hero's welcome, as stuffed with food and misinformation. They are shown the grandiose facade of communism, but not its shabby underside. And always at their elbow, the secret police. Henri Barbusse goes home and dedicates a book to Stalin. Romain Rolland reports himself satisfied. Shaw eulogizes Stalin. The German author Leon Feuchtwanger has high praise for Stalin.
You asked me about my impression after a meeting with Stalin. My first impression was the unusual simplicity of Stalin. He has humor and responds to humor. You can understand why the people not only respect, but love him. He really is a man of the people, sprung from the people, a real representative of the 170 million Soviets. No poet could create a better man.
But for every Feuchtwanger, there is a Soviet writer who doubts. And of these courageous dissenters, Stalin makes a frightening example. I am paralyzed and absolutely helpless, writes poet Nikolai Krylev from the Gulag, and suffer terrible loneliness. He is then shot. Gorky's one-time friend, Ishak Barbel, a writer, shot.